Hello, it's Amy from Mindology, and today I want to look at the chart of Marianne Williamson. So she is on the list as being a potential next president, and you know that they're desperate to have a female president, and for the first time. And, you know, I do think that in the next few elections that may happen, but I don't actually think it's going to happen in this election, but I could be wrong. 2028 has a lot of girly energy in the dashas for the US chart, but again, I could be wrong. I haven't looked into it too deeply, but if you like my content, please subscribe, like, and comment. And if you do want a reading with myself, please head over to moonmindology.com and you can book a reading there. So the first ruler is in the second house, and this really tells me that she is all about her income, her security, and money. And this is one of the most important things to her. And this is the house of the mouth as well. So she's interested in diet and also saying the right thing. Mercury, Ketu and Pluto, they're all sitting in the second. So she's a strong communicator and she loves to be the spokeswoman. Education is very important, and this shows that money can be made via the voice, especially as Pluto is here. She has a powerful voice which can be used to spread a message. And then we have Ketu, which is all about spirituality, and she is in fact a spiritual teacher. However, we do have a lot of powerful and overwhelming forces in this house, which can be an obsession. You know, that could be anywhere from security to also things that go into our mouth. So, you know, it could go as far as, you know, eating disorders or addiction to drugs, alcohol. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's had some kind of eating disorder at some point. There's also an overcompensation for feeling quite vulnerable with this, and you know, it often turns into an obsession with money and resources as well. The combination of Mercury and Pluto is always something that makes me feel pretty uncomfortable, as both planets are associated with the underworld, so they can be linked to very dark things, especially when Ketu is involved as well. So this can be seen in a victim mentality as well. So I've also seen this kind of crop up in crimes of a sexual nature as well. Sometimes it can point to events like that occurring in a person's life, but not always. It's not 100% thing, but I have seen it a lot. So I don't know whether that's something that she has been a victim of or experienced herself. So the moon and Rahu, they're in the 8th house, and this tells me that there are problems with femininity as well as, you know, her aforementioned obsessional qualities. And her mother probably had a really difficult life, and this can also be linked to security issues that she may have felt. The moon, it pulls energy from the second, and it also sends energy to the 8th house. And, you know, it can be quite positive for her ability to speak, be charming, convince people. And, you know, it really does bring power to the house of speech as well. The moon is the mind. And when it is with Rahu, there can be affliction to the mind, which once again, we've got obsession. And in the 8th, this can manifest as an interest in the occult or things that are beyond this world. It's also really great for research as well, and this looks like it's actually been used in a really good way since she went in the direction of being a spiritual guidance person. But she could have gone into banking, research, or, you know, even organised crime, so good for her. Saturn and Neptune, they're in the 4th house, and you know, this is the oil combination, and there was a period of time around the 50s, and it was about for 2 years, and everybody born in that time would have had this. But when you put leaders in charge, it can become a significant thing because it impacts all the people in the country when the leader is at the top. And interestingly, this can give property issues and mysterious problems with vehicles, as well as even pests in the home as well. And as this is a house of happiness, there can be problems with depression. And, you know, the home can feel particularly sad at times, empty, or there can be a feeling of loss. And I would guarantee that her mother had emotional issues, mental disorders, or, you know, struggled with her own depression. So Marianne Williamson was most likely a loner who lives a secluded life to a to some degree, and there is a separation from the world. And she said she wasted a decade living a nomadic existence, and these two planets really can create a situation like this, which is absolutely fascinating. But also you have to bear in mind that with solitude becomes a monk like mentality. So that is something that you would expect of deeply religious people. But moving on to Jupiter in the 11th, this tells me that she actually had supportive friends and also associates who would have supported her. There's great popularity, and there can be lots of money that comes through sporadic payments. So it's positive for religion and philosophy. It's good for travel, friends, and there's a career that's linked to groups, philanthropy, and wisdom, which is exactly what she does. Then we move on to Mars in the 5th, and it shows incredible intelligence and an interest in philosophy as well. She most likely has a great technical ability, and she may be a dab hand with technology. And also, if you want to look at so the 4th house, just going back to that can be luxury vehicles. So if she's got this technical ability, I wouldn't be surprised if she's the sort of person that may have a problem here and there with a vehicle, and she'll go, oh, I'll have a look at that, and maybe I can fix that. So that's a possibility. I don't know that for sure. That'd be really interesting. But in Western astrology, Mars is debilitated in Libra, and I think that there is a clash of meanings in this sign, and she did have only one child at the age of 38, which is pretty late. And Mars in the 5th, that can be unwanted pregnancies, miscarriages, and it can also be limited children, but it can give a problem with love affairs as well. And interestingly, Marianne Williamson, she's only apparently been married once in the 70s for a very short amount of time. So the conversion of love affairs to marriage, it's probably very difficult because of this Mars in the 5th house. And it's not really in a sign that it's totally happy in. And it also aspects the 7th house ruler, and that causes some affliction in that area to marriage and things like that. But if we are looking at marriage by means of using the Gemini Karaka, you've got the Dara Karaka, which is the moon, and we've already established that the moon is very troubled, and Marianne did experience emotional issues. So this isn't great. This planet isn't in the greatest of conditions. So by not getting married, I think she actually made a really good choice from looking at the layout of her chart. And there's also an aspect to the moon from Mars. And Mars is the Nati Karaka, or the Ganati Karaka, which that brings obstacles as well. So, to the 5th house, this is joy, romance, and there could have been a block in these areas for her as well, which is probably why she was forced into spirituality. She would have been a terrible gambler, which really would have taken away the possibility or the likelihood of her getting into banking or criminal activities. So she's taken the right route. She's not silly. Uranus, Venus and the Sun is in the 1st house, so that makes somebody very rebellious, artistic and bold. She stands out, and she probably finds it quite difficult to take orders from other people. She's got a strong ego, and can be a little bit of a temper as well. And the Sun in the 1st, it gives her political interest and a desire for power. She is a leader, and there is a desire for competition. And how much higher can you go than being the President of the United States? So you've got this Venus as well, which is burnt by the Sun, and I would say is significantly combust here. But there can be a problem with relationships in her early childhood that haunt. When you have this, it can be quite haunting, where in the early life, there's damage to a very close relationship that, you never quite feel the same again. You never trust as deeply. That's what I've been taught. So that's an interesting thing. And another pointer that relationships and romance can be afflicted as well. And there can be a separation from her father, but equally she probably would have wanted to have been close to him. And I really get this odd feeling that she is looking in her father for it, or looking for him in some capacity, when we're looking at this combination. Perhaps, you know, the problem relationship that impacted her was to do with her father. Then you've got Venus is the Amakaraka and the Sun is the Amachakaraka. And when these two are together, these people, they know their life purpose and they can achieve it within this lifetime. And she has reportedly always been interested in metaphysics. And I bet that she was always pushed towards the life that she lives now by fate. She couldn't escape it. So she's now in the dasha of Mercury, and this is where she will be during the elections as well. And I just do not think her D10 is quite strong enough for winning an election, as, you know, Trump, Biden or Michelle Obama, if she was to run at the last minute, although it's getting pretty close, and I'm pretty sure she would have said something if she was going to run. So Marianne has some really interesting transits going on this year. Back in January, she had Pluto cross over her moon. And this is going to be going backwards and forwards to the end of the year. And this transit can create a lot of upheaval in her life. And as the moon is in the 8th house, that can be disgrace and also disease as well. So there could be some financial events going on for her. And in March, Jupiter aspected Jupiter, which was great for her opportunities. So, you know, this is going to be good for her own businesses as well as her career itself. So she probably would have got a little bit of a bump there. So in July, Jupiter's going to be aspecting Saturn. So this could be some changes to her own business or even her home. And this is activating the 8th and the 9th houses. So this really could be a call to go back to God during this time. And then in September, Saturn aspects Jupiter again, and this could be a period of difficulty in her career and with her associates. And at the end of September / beginning of October, Pluto is going to be retrograding over her moon, and it comes back and goes over it again. And this is going to be very transformative for her. Pluto transits over a planet like a moon, like your moon, and it can create an extreme and overwhelming change that is ultimately good, but at the time it feels quite destructive, negative and overwhelming. But my poor little mum, she got made redundant when she had this aspect, but now she is in a job that she loves. So, you know, it's just about holding on and having faith. But overall, as I said, I don't think she has the strength in her chart to contend with the likes of Joe Biden or Donald Trump. The D10 just isn't strong enough, in my opinion. And now we're limited to, you know, a few candidates. And I know that there are some independent candidates, but I don't think that they're going to get a look in. And I don't think that she's going to get a look in either. And I don't particularly see anything to say that she's going to be coming to power either. Although, honestly, she does, as I said, have Pluto going over her moon. And one of the things I saw when Emmanuel Macron got in was that he had a Pluto transit. So that is a possibility that she could win there. But I've looked back at the D10s of people who have won elections, and she just doesn't strike me as having a strong enough, she just doesn't strike me as having a strong enough D10 for it. Although she is, the ascendant is in the sign of Mercury. So her D10 is going to be activated, but it just doesn't scream, I'm going to win. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.